Right now, it is time for the open mic, and I see one person is already volunteering in the chat. Good job, John Simons. I have got you on my list. And I know from seeing your names and faces, there are lots of talented people here today. So who would like to read in the open mic? Okay. Okay, now they're pouring in. All right, let's start with John, then Chris Gorman, then Gary, then Stuart, and Patricia, and I'll add on from there as needed.
Okay. Good morning, afternoon. I'm John Simons, living in Honolulu. So it's 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning here. I'd like to read a poem. It does deal with an adult situation, the ultimate adult situation, which is growing old. Here it is. This is called Optics Focus on 2020. Looking old in the eyes makes one realize why lid flesh cutting appeals in an age of expanded vision with fresh outlooks, the rage. Elder eyes have surveyed so much of life before. Lid creep shrinks the view. Others may share of mine and how they look back after 80 years peering. The skin catches up as time pulls even, the bright edge of twinkly vision's encouragement fading from views of earlier times. Wearily gazing through encroaching flaps, eyes settle as tiny white flags of crinkly concession, yielding small defiance from last-ditch lookouts. Squint to shield the fear of surprise or misunderstanding, concealing signs of surrender, flash from an absentee owner, glinting false wisdom to decoy the flights of stray moving thoughts. Daily drops of azelastine moisten the eyes against tearing under their pouchy skin ptosis, a move in response to dry ducts that make the corners drool and add to a wet, weepy dew. Tired skin's crepey siege crowds blurring lenses, aging pupils still in their learning phase, with late blooming irises reaching toward the light, vision streaming in with glaring rays. My age no longer surprises people guessing it. On hearing, they nod quickly and continue. Expressions less than wondrous hold their quiet, blank-faced looks. What are they seeing that I'm not? Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, Chris Gorman. Chris, are you ready?
Sorry, I was looking up my poem because I'm unprepared. Hashtag sorry. Okay, I'm not a poet, so I'm going to read a poem by someone who's not a poet. And I don't know if you're familiar with this Heinlein quote, only insects are specialists. I think there's something really luxurious about specializing. So this is my poem. It's called Bones, An Orthopedic Surgeon's Perspective by Dr. Thomas Partinger. Bones. I like bones. I like big bones. I like small bones. I like bones. I like long bones. I like short bones. I like old bones. I like young bones. I like misshapen bones. I really like broken bones. I like bones sticking out of skin. I like bones about to stick out of skin. I like all sorts of bones. I like them. I like bones. Sometimes bones are broken. I like to fix bones. Sometimes I break bones to fix bones. Sometimes I put screws in bones. Sometimes I put plates on bones. Sometimes I put wire around bones. Bones, I like to take broken bones and make them straight. Unless it is not a straight bone, then I do not like to make it a straight bone. The lungs confuse me. The heart confuses me. Kidneys confuse me. The pancreas confuses me. Bones do not confuse me. Unless it is the skull that confuses me. Teeth confuse me. They are bones. I do not like them as much. Ancef is good. I like when anesthesia gives it. Sometimes gentamicin is good too. Not as good as bones. I like bones. If you consult me about a deep cut, I will ask if there are broken bones. If you consult me about a crush injury, I will ask if there are broken bones. If you consult me about an infection, I will ask if there are broken bones. If you did not get x-rays, I will get them to look at your bones. I like muscles too. Sometimes I cut muscles to get to bones. I do not like nerves. They are not bones. They get in the way of bones. After I finished with my medical school, I was deeply intrigued by the pathophysiology of complex disease processes and the underlying pharmacokinetic changes of our current treatment strategies. But now I like bones. Thank you.
Chris, I think that's a poem and it's great. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to us. All right, next up, let's have Gary, followed by my handwriting, which I cannot read, but I will figure it out after Gary.
Need to unmute myself. This poem is co-written with my son, Matthew, and is inspired by something that happened at his house that he kept posting photos of on Google Photos. And it inspired, and this is a haibun, which is a prose poem which ends in a haiku. It's called Loss. We chose the lot because we loved the trees, but the hole we dug for our basement cut too many roots. We watched the brown spread needle to needle to needle until we knew we had killed our fur. We watched men climb its trunk, heard their chainsaws buzz, watched their ropes lower branch after branch after branch, until only a Christmas tree swayed atop the bare trunk. We heard their chainsaws rip the trunk into logs, watched their crane lift each log above our house and set it gently on their truck bed, one by one by one. Only a single cross section stayed behind, staring back at us from our patio. We heard their stump grinder growl, watched the chips fly, watched them shovel and shuttle chips away by the wheelbarrow, load by load by load. Only sawdust now, caught in every corner, the taste of absence.
Thank you, Gary. Love a good haibun. Very nice quilt too. All right, figured out my handwriting. Next up is Stuart Hadley, followed by Patricia Pravadri and a couple more people. There's still time to volunteer.
Okay. Hi, y'all. Good to be here. And I'm going to read a villanelle. This was published in The Road Not Taken, which is a journal of formal poetry in 2018. It's called Although Long Distant, Death and I Relate. Although long distant, death and I relate along a family line. At times we'll hear the closest bloods begun to gravitate and join together on a somber date to say hello. The years will disappear, and though long distant, death and I relate like schoolboys closely playing with a mate important games, and in our cause sincere. The closest bloods begin to gravitate, and with it hopes our meeting up could wait another year, a longer stay on fear. Although long distant, death and I relate as feuding siblings, ever in a state of feeling how the other interferes. The closest blood's begun to gravitate, and like a strange old kinsman coming straight up to me with a visage so severe, and though long distant, death and I relate, the closest blood's begun to gravitate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always good to hear you and your work.
Thank you.
Next up, Patricia, followed by Pravadri, John Gorman, and Julian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patty. I've missed public poetry a lot. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to read one brief poem I've been writing the last 2 years, well, a year and a half, and just a few brief remarks before. This poem is about grieving the divorce of some of my best friends who were together for 40 years. So when you get to be my age, when your friends divorce, it's that much more devastating because you've known them for 4 decades. So their names were Rhonda and Clay. We were in a ballet together in the 1980s, a ballet company called Ballet West in Salt Lake City, Utah. And she discovered that her husband was having an affair the first month of the pandemic because she went down to the basement and saw her husband. He was on the phone with someone and he was saying goodnight. And he said goodnight in a very strange way. And she knew instantly that something was up. So this poem is about that. It's called Noche de Ronda. And I wrote it while playing that song, the beautiful, old, glorious Mexican song. And I loved writing it to listen while listening to Carrie Rodriguez and her version of it on the Tiny Desk concerts. I highly recommend you're hearing her. Carrie Rodriguez, Noche de Ronda. Noche de Ronda, I sing of women who love each other with ribbon bond of bloodied cuticle, circle of willy, bevy of swans, field of fairies, sylphide, sing you to peace. I mourn the end of marriages to mere mortal men who crumble in tired bone piles at our point. He adored her. He told me that he would never need another for his lifetime. She was his church. And there's his fall. Love isn't adoration. It's breathing in the dance as one, as core, in tempo with grace, in line above stentorious orchestra with good form. Good form. The ballet master would say from the dark of the house, when you cheat, you only cheat yourself. They made love in the car in the airport parking lot, covered on the inside with newspapers. She put him through medical school. They made 3 miracle humans. They raised them in harmony and envy of everyone. I couldn't wait to run up their front porch every year for decades. You can sit by me. When Aurora died, we talked about it in the kitchen. They held each other and looked at each other's eyes and shared sorrow, disbelief, fear, pain, sad gratitude for daily breath, like children huddled together in the center of a circle of fire. When I divorced, we talked about it in the kitchen. They held each other and spoke in the same hush, held hands, kissed each other's faces, shared pain like children huddled together in the center of a circle of fire. She sparkled and grew in wisdom. He fell behind bullets and more guns, golf clubs, and medicinal ego. The best men serve life, but women are life. And dancers are angels, here to nurse your soul with rhythm. In time, the Rockies may crumble and lie. They're only made of clay. But love is here to stay. Actually, it is a good night. Thank you. I feel better now.
Writing does have a healing property for sure. And I think part of that is sharing. Thank you for that. Next up, let's hear from Pravadri, followed by John Gorman.
Hello, am I audible? Hi everyone, and here today monsoons have almost appeared, so I just thought of writing a seasonal poetry. Rain, a confetti from the sky. Whenever the clouds rain, I see you with my eyes full of water. You look like the first wish for the shower of monsoon. Oh, my beloved, I wish I lived in your shadow. I wish I could behold you. Whether you give me grief or joy, I'll bear it happily. There's none other than you whom I possess. All my roads walk up to your destination. I get wet in the rain, feeling I'm getting drenched in your love. I wish you to share me with myself. Take a look at me, see what I am. Rain is just a confetti from the sky. You remind me meeting with my life. But alas, you never notice. Today without you, I simply get wet in the rain. I do not feel it any longer. Thank you.
Thank you. That's lovely. All right, Dr. Gorman, when you're ready, and then Julian will follow.
Well, I'm ready. Can you hear me? Okay. When I was teaching the course in Louise Glick last semester for Asher Lifelong Learning in Galveston, I admired the way she went in and out of Greek myth and found myself with the first line of a poem on Telemachus from the Odyssey. Here it is. I don't know whether it's suitable for children or not. Telemachus was a child, so if he can take it, I don't see why the children of Videoland can't take it. Telemachus played with the men he'd kill. He became their mascot. They became his big brothers. As a boy, Telemachus played with the men he'd later kill. Is this a better start, or is it over-elaborate? At any rate, for a while, they had no agendas, but Telemachus had the embryo of a position he'd have to defend. That was the trouble. Sex was the trouble. The suitors seemed not to want the boy that way, though he must have been lovely. And we all know the reputation of the ancient Greeks, the electricity between Achilles and Patroclus, Ganymede and Zeus. But the book says the suitors went after the maids, the slave girls, well, banking on Penelope in the long haul. And so, thanks to sex and primogeniture, the suitors eventually decided to kill Telemachus, their little buddy, their playmate. Is growing up always this sad? Anyway, the suitors seem cases of arrested development, always their parents' sons, though by the time of the return of Odysseus, the oldest of them must have been middle-aged. And why weren't they sent in cohorts to Troy as they grew in cohorts to a soldierly age? The book seems not to care about that. Though Telemachus and his age mates go off on their adventures, the adventures that teach them some of the skills of killers, and get Telemachus a good erotic review from Helen of Troy. But think of Telemachus and what Freud would later call latency, and the suitors like Jake Barnes and his friends in Hemingway, boys again together fishing in Spain. Life simplified. Then sex, blood, violence, betrayal, Pamplona, Brat, Ithaca, Athena, Telemachus played with the men he'd killed. And life unpacked its contradictions from the picnic basket it always keeps in the car. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there are any more people who would like to volunteer for open mic, you can do so now in the chat. And Julian, when you're ready, go ahead.
Hi. Can you hear me? So they discovered a rock on Mars, the rover Perseverance, and I was pretty disappointed to read that the person in charge of posting the photographs had posted this cracked rock and called it a butt crack rock on Twitter. So I felt some sympathy for the rock and wrote this. If a rock on Mars cracks open and no one sees it, if a poem is written but never seen, does the universe still read it? If a song is composed but never played, does the universe still hear it? If art is created but never shown, does the universe still value it? If a dream is dreamt but no one remembers it, does the universe still awaken to it? If a rock on Mars cracks open and no one sees it, does the universe still care? Oh, solitary, fractured rock on Mars. We earthlings, scientists no less, discover you after millennia, yet still choose to insult you. Isn't it just typical colonial mentality to make fun of the natives, to infantilize your brokenness, to invalidate your existence, to excavate your insides and rip your Martian heart out? If a rock on Mars cracks open and no one sees it, does the universe still care for you? Yes, it does. I do. You are no one's primal fault. The universe peers into your soul and sees your shining center. It cradles your alluvial despair in its sturdy hands. It perceives your rough edges as only poetry. It lowers its ear to your fissure and hears you sing. And when it is quiet, late at night, and you cry alone, it lulls you to sleep and paints you a Venusian dream. Thank you.